Hi, it's Murray from the YSE Cookery School. I just want to share with you this little ice cream hack that I've got. Ice cream machines are quite an expensive piece of kit, and to be fair, a lot of people wouldn't justify the money really. They cost 200 or 300 quid, and unless you're using them quite a lot, it is a bit of an excessive purchase. So there's a couple of ways you can make ice cream without a machine. The first is the meringue method. Okay, so it's like an Italian gelato. You take a fruit-based flavour, you whisk up some egg whites, some sugar to make a thick, stable meringue, whip some cream, fold it all together, and because the mix is so full of air, it doesn't freeze solid. I've got my cream that I'm going to whisk up. I've got my egg whites that I'm going to make into meringue with some small amount of sugar. Sugar stabilises the mix and helps it to trap air. And the same with the sugar, quite a bit of sugar, and my yolks. I'll whisk those up as well. I'm going to start with the whites because whites won't whisk up properly if the bowl's not completely spotless, the beaters are spotless, and there's no yolk whatsoever. It's not so much of a problem with yolks, so it doesn't matter if the beaters go into the yolks after the whites. And again, the cream doesn't really matter either. This is a fairly standard recipe that I think you can use as a good base and flavour it however you like. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use some vanilla into the cream, folded in at the end. Okay, so I'll start with the whites, then the yolks and the cream, fold it all together, put it in the freezer. It really is as easy as that. Stiff peaks, a nice stiff stable meringue. Now for the yolks. So they should be nice and thick, nice and pale. And I'll move on to the cream. Okay, my vanilla in as well. It's really important that things are a similar texture when you fold them together. Cream is the same texture as the eggs, and so is the meringue. Taking care not to bash the air out. The meringue usually we start by putting a little bit in first, which lightens the mixture slightly. It makes it easier to fold the rest in. So again, be careful not to do too much of this, knock the air out. We've just spent the last 10 minutes whisking it in, so we want to keep it. And because this is so full of air, this mix isn't going to freeze solid, and then the next day when we come to use it all in a few hours time, it'll be lovely and easy to scoop. And for me, this is the best way to make ice cream. You get a little bit more yield, it's a bit quicker, and it's lovely and easy to scoop as soon as it comes out of the freezer. Okay, so simple as that. So that's a meringue based ice cream. There's no ice cream machine used at all. It goes into the freezer and it should be scoopable. And now I'll show you a method for making an ice cream that would be a churned ice cream that would usually need a machine without actually having the machine. So that's one way, and quite a good way to make ice cream. I use it quite a lot. You can get quite a good yield, a lot more than a custard based ice cream. You fill up the tray, put it in the freezer, and it's ready to roll as soon as it's frozen. Now the other way, which I like to use for ice cream bases that should go into a churning machine, is to freeze everything first. Okay, so I've got a few recipes that I've adapted slightly, so they're in the region of about 3/4 of the mix is frozen first. I've used silicone molds, okay, and pop them out, but you could use an ice cube tray or something like that. It's quite a good way to, but actually what you want is some nice small pieces like this, okay, that you can put into the machine, all frozen. This is a sorbet recipe, okay, and I've got frozen fruit puree. You could just use frozen fruit and strain it, or you can just buy the puree, which is easier. And I've got a little bit of mascarpone as well, which I've frozen also. I load it into my blender. Now what we're doing is trying to make a frozen slurry that would be similar to the texture of the mix that comes out of the machine once it's churned, once it's frozen. And all of the small ice crystals are broken up nicely and it shouldn't freeze too hard. So I've got my syrup. Okay, this is a chilled sugar syrup, sugar and water. Pour it in like this and let it rumble. Okay, now end up with is a really nice set sorbet. I'll quickly transfer this into the freezer and freeze it down as quickly as I can. Once it's at an hour or two to freeze solid, I should be able to just ball it nicely. If I'd have just frozen the mix as it was, it'd be a solid lump. Okay, and that's the purpose of an ice cream machine, to give this nice texture. Okay, so we'll come back in a couple of hours and check it out. That was the berry ice cream. I'll quickly just show you the lemon sorbet, which I've done the same thing. I've got my blocks of frozen mascarpone, lemon juice, again, you could just freeze these in an ice cream container. I had this lemon juice in the freezer, so that's why it's in the block. This is the syrup. Okay, I've made a syrup out of sugar and water. I've frozen half of it, which gives me a quite sticky consistency. And the other half is still liquid. Okay, so I'll pour that in. Because the quantity should be right, we've got about 1/4 that's chilled and not frozen. The rest is frozen. Now you may need to stir it a few times depending on the blender, but keep going until you've got a really nice smooth texture and all the big lumps are gone. Okay, now you should have, like the other one, nice cold bowl and a lovely set sorbet. Okay, just ready to be frozen down solid. This is the same kind of texture that you'd expect to get out of the ice cream machine itself if you'd put it in for half an hour and churned it. Okay, so it's quite a nice little hack. There's a lot of recipes that say to make ice cream without a machine, to just put it in the tray and mix it up with a whisk every half an hour, but it's a bit of a ball ache, and that actually never really gets it nice and smooth. Okay, so for me that's a great alternative to using an ice cream machine. If you haven't got one to hand, or you don't really want to buy one because you're not going to be making ice cream often enough. All right, so we'll put that in the freezer for a couple of hours, come back and see what it's like. Okay, so 3 hours later, my ice cream's frozen, set. three different ones. Remember, one was the meringue method, quite a basic vanilla ice cream I've made, a berry sorbet and a lemon sorbet. They're all quite different, but they should just come out as a lovely, lovely texture. Scoop nice and easily onto the plate. Make a lovely addition to your dessert. Okay. So if you like the recipes, there's a PDF you can download with a few recipes and a little bit of an explanation about the three different types of ice cream. The link's down below. Click it, download the PDF and get started. It's a good way to get into making ice cream before you invest in an expensive machine. And if you'd like to hear more from us, hit subscribe below and we'll keep you updated as and when we post new content. Thanks very much. Have a good day.